Hi everyone, and welcome back for another video. Today I'm actually going to have a little bit of a rant about something because I was going through different parts of the game, seeing where I'd got to with certain things, and one thing really jumped off the page and made me realise, wow, this is not good. So what I am going to be talking about is the reward from Clan Siege, but this is a bit of a wider sort of scope subject in general because there's been a lot of talk recently. A lot of content creators have been actually kind of raising the alarm about it, and that is the general decline of Raid. And that's not just the decline of Raid itself, but the viewership and the following that comes with it. It's all just a bit of a knock-on effect. So we are in a bit of a flow in this game where new content gets released and we are usually given a new champion as a reward for completing that content. Cool, I like it. We had Hydra, gave us Mithrala, Void Legendary, bit of a game changer when she came out. First champ to bring us Petrification, which was super cool. We had the Chimera, which brought Empress, the mythical, even better. Real game-changing mythical. We had Cursed City, which brought us Carnage. He's absolutely ace. I still haven't quite worked out where I'm using him and how yet, but he's an absolutely wicked champ. We have Faction Wars Hard, which is now going to give us Polara Fireheart. Also cool. Haven't actually looked into her yet because I see it as so far away from obtaining her. I'll worry about it when I get closer. And then obviously we had Clan Siege, which brought in these fragments here for Lamasu, another Void Legendary, massive game-changing champion. However, there's one thing that links all of the previous champions that I've mentioned, and then there's one thing that makes this one stand out, and I really don't think it's a good thing. So let's kind of rewind a little bit to when they brought in... Let's just pick Hydra for now. Not that, that's Cursed City. Hydra, this one. When it was first launched, every time you got one of these chests from doing Hydra, you would get, I think it was 1, 2, or 3 champion fragments for Mithrala. Now, for I would imagine probably 80-85% of the player base, it would have been mainly getting one chest, and that's fine. It's slow, it's a slog, but at least you know what you're grinding towards. You're eventually going to get it. And I like that. What it meant also is that no one could really buy their way to getting it quickly. I think that's cool. It seems fair. It made Hydra more bearable because you knew ultimately you were going to get something from it. And then let's just pick on Chimera once it's here. You know, you do your chests every week, you get champion fragments for Empress. And that's a mythical. That's super cool. Massive game changer. Then we have obviously Faction Wars, the new hard mode. That's a bit of a problem because it is very conditional. You know, some stages are just kind of crazy and make you do things that you wouldn't normally do on your account. But, you know, I can see there's an argument for that being a good and a bad thing. But ultimately, every stage you take down, you know you're just sort of inching your way a little bit closer to getting the mythical as a reward. All of these things, they're really cool. You know, even Doom Tower gives you legendaries as a reward. You've just got to grind it and grind it and grind it. We are used to the cycle of grinding, but getting something at the end of it. And this has changed in one place, and that is Siege. And I'm just going to go over here to... where is she? Lamasu. It has been almost to this day 1 year. I think Siege came out on the 10th of July 2024. We're now the 1st of July. A whole year, and I have done every Siege. We've won quite a lot of Sieges. You know, haven't won them all. But, you know, I've showed up, I've been there for it. And me, even as an end game player, I have 16 out of 100 fragments. And that ultimately is pretty demoralizing. And it kind of shows me that in a weird way, which definitely can't be right, Plarium is almost valuing this Void Legendary over Mythicals, which they are giving to us, you know, in a way that we're actually getting them. You know, Curse City, you grind, even if it's, you get 10 points per rotation, eventually you get your 500, you're going to get Carnage. It makes it worth it. The problem with this reward being Lamasu is if you want your fragments for her, not only do you have to win Siege, which as we all know is not the easiest thing in the world, but you also have to take down the enemy stronghold if you even want to be in with a chance of getting these. And to me, that's not fun. That's really not fun. Most clans cannot not just win a siege mode, but also actually have enough active players with enough gear and champs to even bring down the enemy stronghold. So you could essentially win 100 siege modes, but if you don't take the siege stronghold down, you're not getting the reward. And I don't understand why they've put such a conditional gatekeeping on something which they don't do for anything else. It really breaks the continuity, and ultimately it makes me just not want to do Siege. I mean, I don't like Siege anyway because I don't really like PvP. That's a personal thing. That's just the way I like to play games. But to have something locked behind these extra conditions, it just doesn't fit with the rest of what Raid makes us do. Now, we all know this is a super grindy game. I think it appeals to the completionist, you know, the sort of OCD people that like to just sort of collect everything. It's even appealing to the gambling side of the game. They've got it covered. This isn't me just wrecking on Raid. But why after 1 year are they still holding this champ in such high exclusivity? But then they've got Mythicals being thrown out left, right, and centre. There should be a hierarchy in this game. You know, Mythicals should be the absolute hardest to reach because they're supposedly the best. Then Legendaries, Epics, Rares. There has to be a class system for the game to function. But the value is kind of being washed around, and it's sort of whatever's new, that's the value, then there's the value. But this champ has kind of been a bit left behind. Now, I would argue she's probably my most wanted Void Legendary at the moment. And, you know, I still show up every week to do Siege or every fortnight or whatever it is. But we're just not getting her. And there's so many parts of this game, and I'm sure everyone watching this could think of probably at least 10 things that really bother them about this game at the moment. And when you factor in videos that have come out from people like Ash, Nub Raids, I think Cobb did a video that I've seen. All of these people are talking about just this very visible decline in just the player base of this game. Now, the only way to really make Plarium fix this is, you know, when the bottom line starts to take a bit of a hit. But I think people are still obviously spending enough to keep the lights on. But it seems really odd that people, say like me, that are in the end game can be putting in just as much effort as everyone else, but we're not really getting anything for it in reward. And, you know, it's fine. It's just a game. It's really, really not the end of the world. And I do hate just essentially bitching about something and not proposing a solution. So I'm going to propose a solution which took me the best part of 3 seconds to come up with. And that is, don't change anything. You know, if you win and you take down the stronghold, cool, get your 10 fragments. But how about, it's been a year now, the exclusivity of this champion has worn off. We've had new content, we've had new champs, there's new mythicals, we've got to move past it. And one of the best ways to do that would be, if you win, why don't you get 5 fragments? Or if you're going to be a dick about it, get 2 fragments. This will up the amount of people that actually want to participate in this type of game mode. And when we look at the sort of falling player base, it's little fixes like this that will actually bring a better value to the effort that people put into the game. We all know this game is like a second job anyway, and why would we want to play something when we don't get rewarded for it? Now, I don't want a participation trophy just for showing up. Like, you know, you got to win to get it. And I like that. I like the fact that it builds a competitive sort of nature. But if we're just going to gatekeep certain bits behind these really weird conditions, then people are just not going to want to engage with that content. So it's a very, very simple fix. It took me no time to think of, but it's little things have a massive knock on. So if you're in the same boat as me, and it doesn't even matter what stage you are of in the game, if you're showing up every week and you're putting this effort in, it's not very nice to get, well, nothing. I simply cannot believe it's been a whole year and I've got 16 fragments. And the beauty of that is I think the 16 came from like the first few weeks that it was released, when we actually got wins and got the stronghold down. It's a horrible knock-on effect. Less people are playing because the game's less enjoyable and it's more hard work. And as a result of less people playing, each individual clan is going to struggle a little bit to do this content. So for a very, very simple thing, it could have a really positive outcome if it was changed. Most of raid is just a mindset. As long as you're willing to spend the time, you'll ultimately get your reward. I just don't really understand why this one has been made differently. So thank you for watching my little rant. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, tell me why. Please feel free to subscribe and let me know where you're at with this champion. I'm not going to ask you, tell me all the things that are annoying you in raid, because there's just so many, but little things. It will take no effort from them to fix something like this, and we will all be rewarded greatly for it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.